So I asked AI to help me with cooking some simple yet tasty dish. And believe it or not, Cioppino was chosen. And despite of all this robotic, dehumanized algorithm, our AI is all appropriate.
I really don't think that was appropriate.
Ah, just fuck off to America with your appropriate fucking Barack Obama.
And to be tasteful enough, AI is politely correct, which is one step up from politically correct. Our AI hates generalizations and generally nations.
Anybody order fried sauerkraut?
I should explain that our AI got exposure recently to John Lennon's music. Our AI shows even more of its human side because it calls our dish, our Cioppino, as a melting pot, just like the Canadian society. However, it is not sorry for being sorry. And because our AI believes through some deep learning, not as much deep frying, all those different vegetables and seafoods from different cultures, from different aquacultures. And I know some of you, and I know such people as well, are often tempted to experiment a bit, meaning bringing some not typical food items to that melting pot from exotic places. The analogy, according to our AI, in human terms and attitudes, when compared to these culinary imports, can be personified and explained by these middle-aged and past middle-aged men who go abroad to bring them back different culture brides.
Look at it. A young trophy wife marries this guy for his money.
Who are we to be so cynical and judgmental? I'm sure there are some cases when there is more than just a transaction. Transactions, plural. The last one usually happens to the guy several years later when he is taken to the cleaners.
I'm going to allow
She specificated a man who, though clever at making money, would be easily duped and controlled. A man with a wandering pee-pee. I introduce her to that silly man.
You son of a bitch!
And why on earth would you go to another country to find a bride? What's wrong with the women in your own country, especially in a melting pot like Canada or the US? There is a reason a middle-aged man goes abroad to bring a bride. A typical North American woman with a decent level of self-esteem wouldn't put up with their crap.
A little bit too soft and genteel. You're not threatening enough.
Not threatening enough? How's this? You take your hands off me, or I'm gonna knead your balls right through the roof of your mouth. Shame on you, you macho shithead.
And even women with the low self-esteem have second thoughts or second masks. It may not be just bad hygiene.
I don't even have to floss.
A whiny voice, childish behavior, and overall creepiness. But again, Who are we to be so cynical? I'm sure there must be middle or past middle-aged men who are real gentlemen. They know how to treat women with respect, how to talk to them in a friendly manner, not a creepy one. And they also don't need to pretend how wealthy they are, because they are already wealthy. And as far as I know, there is already a manifesto, the recipe how to pursue all those brides, created by this guru. So he knows probably better than most men who pursue those different culture women. And you know, the slogan could be fairly powerful. Make all these creepy and weird men great again. Oh, let me read it for you. When Canada sends its middle-aged men to exotic countries so they can bring their brides, we are not sending our best. We are sending you people that have lots of problems, and they are bringing those problems with you. They are bringing prescription drugs because they are of certain age, sure. They bringing slime. They are creeps and escapists, and some, I assume, are good people. We are sending them not the right people, because they have no protection and they have no competence. It's gotta stop fast.
Why is she going to Japan?
Oh, you've heard of mail-order brides, haven't you? Well, they go that way, too.
Your Highness, don't be alarmed. I can be trusted. I'm an American, Fanny Eubanks of Omaha. I still want to help.
They may be watching even as we... My God, you're attractive.
And to be again respectful and politely correct, each of the ingredients were sifted through human-like attributes. For example, if you were neglected in the past, or you looked different, or for whatever reason you weren't participating.
Let's face it. I'm not being funny. I mean, no disrespect. But you're a cunt.
That, in the eyes of AI, wasn't good enough to end up in the dish. Our AI is, I believe, all in for diversity, purely based on good flavors, good taste, based on meritocracy. Just as some of the civil servants. And even if you were one of those privileged, well-connected breeds, stocks, with all the nutrients, sheltered against all the elements, greenhouse conditions, you may say. Such nuts often don't deliver. In fact, they are destined to be in this hot mess. So just being a Nepo seed, as our AI concludes, is not sufficient. Therefore, must have some other attributes and ingredients that allow them to be at the cabinet. And our AI predicts even that without all those powerful connections, links and roots, they still could end up in some fancy cabinet, kitchen cabinet, finally showing that they can cook with competence.
No, wait. Cut at the table.
The recipe was created, assembled, based on the scanned by our AI menus from all those different Canadian restaurants.
I'm sorry, but do you think we could cancel our fruit salads?
Well, it's a little tricky. Chef's just opened the tin.
Although, in order to improve the taste of the dish, our AI ignored restaurants that in their name have words such as authentic. As to the word authentic, our AI doesn't buy it. The assumption here is that the expression often reflects the opposite. For example, the North Korea official name is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And we know that this has nothing to do with democracy or democratically elected people. It's the opposite. And that is partially why our AI ignored the recipes or the posts of all those photos and videos on social media. Our artificial intelligence declared this was all artificial. Why would you be so easily impressible? Why would you take those photos? Who would do such things? Only who don't have everyday decent type of a meal would consider this dish as something extraordinary and post to the others, look, this is my lifestyle.
It's all goddamn fake, man.
Pretending that we do something that we usually don't do is a fairly common thing. It's like
Lenin said.
Strong is weak and weak is strong. For example, if you meet somebody that you don't know that well, but that person declares and says, I am an honest person. You know that if you declare that loud to somebody else, most of the time the person is not that honest, and you probably learn soon enough that's the opposite.
I'm cooperating here, and I'm not arguing here. I'm cooperating, and we're doing all we can.
And the opposite is true, the opposite of the opposite. What I mean by that is when a person says, I don't think I would be a good parent. And we cannot prove that always, but that person probably would be a great parent because has already some doubts, is aware of how often selfish parents want to create that little mini version of themselves. And the harder they try to create those mini versions, the more messed up their kids usually are.
Harry, let's face it. You're a cunt now. You've always been a cunt. And the only thing that's going to change is you're going to become an even bigger cunt. Maybe have some more cunt kids.
Leave my kids fucking out of it. What have they done? You fucking retract that bit about my cunt fucking kid.
So I have noticed that the last thing that AI wants to do is discriminate food items that they are not the freshest. And the hope, I think, is that despite of aging vegetables and nuts and what have you, these items still are not too prickly, not too bitter.
I had a gallstone the size of a baseball.
Well, gallstones, yeah. Gallstones are for pussies. When I had the shingles, you see me in here complaining to Phil about it, huh? Did you?
And sure, they may express their sense of entitlement. Oh, I've been paying my taxes all my life, and therefore I deserve it. Whatever it means. I know how people sometimes have difficulty to age with dignity. I remember myself when I was 15, anybody older than 20 years like 35 at that time, was considered old by myself. Similarly, when I was 20, anybody with the age of 40 was in that category and beyond, of course. So nowadays, yes, I consider anybody who is 55 and older as an old folk. No need to be obsessing about it. The only annoying part with it is that some people who reach that age think they are in middle age. They refuse to acknowledge, and the life expectancy here in Canada is 83 years old. So when you are 55, you are 2/3 on your way. And sure, we know there are already some medical advances, and AI helps a lot too. And who knows, perhaps in the near future, the old 83 will be new 81. And we haven't spoken yet about this group of so-called emotional steamers, ultra-sensitive types with very thin skin, always afraid that there is this toxic environment. Cioppino involves adding some white wine usually, which can be considered a toxic environment. And to cover that, we would need a separate episode. It's gonna be untitled "The Rate of Emotional Steamers and Drama Queens is Identical in each generation." And now the part that some of you probably waited, the actual Cioppino cooking.